Hello, Gary.
Hello, Guy. How are you?
I'm all right. I've had a bit of a funny old week.
What?
I know I've talked about it on here before. I started bell ringing in the village, or learning how to bell ring at the church.
Yes.
I got asked to write an article about it for the Oldie magazine.
Well, at least it's not a concept album.
Well, you never know, because it got picked up by the Sun, the Mail, the Times, the Telegraph, the Argus. It's the biggest kind of media blitz I've ever had in my life.
Oh my God.
BBC Sussex came down to bell practice on Monday.
What? You've ruined it for everyone, basically.
I have, yeah.
This quiet little village.
Exactly.
You are the partridge, mate, of the village. And now they're all turning up with their cameras and their notepads. And you're going to be, they're going to hold you up, actually. You're going to be on GB News, aren't you? As being like, representing old school England.
That's right. Yeah. Poster boy.
What did you say in the article? Poster boy. What did you say in the article?
The article, it was, it was just for the oldie. It was for that audience. It was quite funny because Harry, the editor, who I just met at some lunch, it was what they wanted, the thing of rock star playing bells. And, he really wanted it to be all from, he wanted drugs and groupies now to quaint church bell ringing, And I was like, no.
Floral displays, more like.
Exactly. So it was just that I suppose, the difference. But it's the thing I don't like is things like that. I just want to point out is that they tend to, it says Pink Floyd star or whatever, which I'm not, and I've never, it's
quite. Has David called up?
Well, Polly put up a post on Instagram. Literally when it came out, she just put up a picture of me at the Circus Maximus, and the soundtrack was "Ring My Bell" by
Yeah.
Anyway,
I just wanted to talk about a new album that I really love, which is by one of the guys that used to be in Black Midi.
Yes, yes,
Cameron Picton, and he's got a band, and it's called My New Band Believe. That's the name. It's My New Band Believe.
Yeah. No, they're brilliant. I listened to them at your recommendation.
It is extremely different to the Geordie Greep solo album because there was sort of madness of Geordie Greep. There's like about 1,000 voices all running at once, and it's diving from this style of music to that style of music, and it's math rock here and there, and then it's you're in Brazil dancing to Latin. This is much more acoustic. In fact, it's all acoustic and incredible strings. Did you like it?
I loved it. I really, really liked it a lot.
Yeah, he proper songs, but with some really interesting effects and soundscapes, and so obviously that comes via one of my kids, who
I was going to say
how introduced it to me. But I've always been I've been into that Black Midi crowd.
I know that. I know.
And then I particularly loved it. And what was interesting is I read that his first idea for a producer was Van Dyke Parks.
Oh wow!
So it's totally that kind of sound, because there's a Van Dyke Park album called Song Cycle, which is very like it, brilliant. Which is sort of like it jumps from different kinds of music, and has a sort of, as though you're wandering down a New Orleans street. You might hear a bit of this and a bit of that. Of course, it's got beautiful strings on it, but I think Van Dyke Parks was too expensive or possibly too old.
But I was going to say, I think he would be quite old. Yeah, because
the
other album, which came via my son, which I'm absolutely gobsmacked by, is the Ray album.
And it's called This Music May Contain Hope.
Yes. And
that's right. It's really good.
It's incredible, isn't it? What I love about it is, especially from that sort of background, is the fact that, her chops are incredible. All the jazz stuff and is amazing. And there's all this incredible orchestral stuff and everything. And what's amazing is none of it is samples. All of it is arranged. All of it is played. And it's just so nice. And I think it's also a similar thing with the band you were talking about, Gary. I think there seems to be a yearning for something a bit more complicated and substantial in music now. Do you know what I mean?
Well, but not quite as much. Is it Engine de Poitrine? Is that what I'm thinking?
No.
Not
Oh my God.
Quite as complicated as that. Although, I have to say, I really like it. Do you like it?
I do like it in a way, but I'm not quite sure what it is. It's like, is it AI? Are we being messed with?
I don't think we are, because I've seen some live footage, and that guitar player who's barefoot with his long nose and his disguises, he is, well, it's all Dada, isn't it, darling?
It's sort of, yeah. Do we think they're kind of like the modern equivalent of the Residents or something?
Yeah. Yeah, that rings a bell. Go on.
Do you remember that they had giant eyeball heads?
Oh, yes.
And top hats. They were great.
But but I've seen him do it, and he's working the floor with his pedals and turning his knobs with his foot, and it's all loops and stuff.
That was so turning his knobs with his foot sounds like a line that was rejected from Killing Me Softly with his song.
No, it sounds like a headline from a Tory MP in the 80s. But he's got this guitar, hasn't he? That's got all the quarter notes fretted.
I don't know if it's microtonal. I don't know, because
I've seen a picture of it. It's got all there's a fret between every other fret.
Oh, okay, that's what. All right, so you can play conventional stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it makes you think. Kind of Robert Fripp must be going, why didn't I think of that? I remember working with someone years ago who had a custom-built electric guitar, which was a Balinese scale with all these microtones on it. But yeah, but the thing was, you were stuck with those scales. You couldn't. The Arngine de Poutrine thing sounds like you could do conventional if you wanted to, right?
Do you know what I think it is? I think people are sick of kind of pap music. And there's a lot of it about, and there's a lot of very bland computerized music, AI music, whatever.
Yeah.
There's just like cut and paste. Here's the verse, here's the bridge, here's the chorus. We've heard it all before. People just want something a little bit more daring.
Yeah, well, substantial.
Yeah, and whether it's the sort of insane abstract quality of the Canadians on Jean de Poutrine, or whether it's Ray doing stuff that is really out there. I mean, what I like about the album is it's slightly conceptual. There's 4 sides to the vinyl, and it goes spring, summer, autumn, winter, and she has her grandfather talking on it in an amazing sort of song. She speaks between tracks. Even the outro, the very last track, are the credits. She speaks the credits. It might have been a bit of Tubular Bell.
That's right. Yeah, it's brilliant. Al Green is on it.
Yeah. Al Green's like, it's conceptual. It's like a theatre show, isn't it? It's an art piece.
Yes.
Which kind of brings us to our guest this morning.
Exactly, because none more conceptual and none more challenging, one would say, certainly in the later years.
That's right. That's right. I mean, Kid A was so complicated, they thought maybe they should be doing it as an art installation, which it finally is, actually. It's a movie installation, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's touring.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm so thrilled you got him on. He's someone
He's someone I know. I've got to know over the last year or so. I've only met him a few times, but it's interesting. I want to talk about this. I've seen him in lots of things. He's kind of everywhere at the moment. He's an amazing musician. He's an amazing bass player, I must say. And I've kind of, and it's really interesting, the counterpoint, because he does such different things, because he plays with Nick Cave now. That's, and does all sorts of stuff.
Is he in Nick Cave's sort of main touring band?
He's been standing in
right, okay.
with the Bad Seeds. Yeah, did all of the last tour. But then I saw him do a solo show with Nick in a church. And then he was I'll say that we'll talk about this.
I mean, I certainly want to ask him about the tour, and how.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of that,
And of course, he did his book of photos of the band.
Well, I missed that in my research. So
yeah,
I need
How to Disappear.
Okay. So what does he shoot on? That's very similar to our last guest.
To
Nick. We never spoke about his Polaroids, did we? It seemed rude.
Which ones?
The ones of your wife.
Well, no, Dave, of course, Dave Roundtree. His book of photos. Funny enough, I was watching that BBC thriller, The Capture, and Dave's in one shot in the last episode, I think, because his missus is involved in the making
Greenwood
of it.
From Blur.
Roundtree.
Dave Roundtree, sorry, I'm getting my getting my guests mixed up. Bit of Alzheimer's kicking in there. He's in that. Why?
Yeah, just because his missus is involved with it.
But is he playing a character in it, or is he just playing?
Yeah, I think he's some surveillance guy. He's just looking at a computer screen.
That's basically me when my kids go out. I swear to God, the banks of surveillance, drones flying above their heads while they're trying to get into a club with their fake IDs.
Yeah, man who fell to earth.
Anyway, should we get him on?
Welcome to the Rockonteurs.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
There he is.
Colin, what a vinyl collection.
Look at that.
Well, I thought this could be one of our chatty points.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
How
Brilliant.
are you, gentlemen?
Very well. Hello, Colin. Lovely to see you, mate.
You too. I'm sorry we didn't get together the last couple of weeks or so. My partner's just come over so it's been a bit busy. But yeah, I'm so humbled that you asked me in the first place.
Oh, it's a thrill to have you on.
Seriously, I mean, I just looking at all the amazing stars you've had, and there's some serious barrel scraping when it comes to asking me.
Oh, for God's sake!
I'm really grateful. So thank you.
The lady doth protest too much, methinks.
Yes.
So, I'm blushing now. So
how long is that vinyl collection been going on for? Does that go back?
Or did you just buy it by the yard?
I did buy
Oh, hang on, my dog's barking.
Yes. Oh, look, you've got a cockapoo.
No, he's a lab.
A labradoodle.
He's a labradoodle, and I was just telling Guy, he's just had 6 teeth removed, and I feel so guilty. He's 9,
Right.
and we're meant to have basically given him a general anaesthetic once a year and had his teeth cleaned, and I think we've only done it once. Anyway, now it's at crisis point.
Well,
he's
maybe you could bling him up, put little like Mick Hucknell, put little red roofing and stuff in there.
Yeah, go get a full gangster
Goldie
dog.
Goldie the Labrador.
We should do that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
No, go on, vinyl.
Oh, so about, I don't know, 18 months ago, I wanted to, well, it started with a collection of CDs. An old friend of mine asked me if I wanted them because her father had passed away, and she tried to give them to the Royal Northern College of Music, and they said that the kids don't listen to CDs, they're only good for landfill. And it was about 2,000 classical CDs.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so I went down this sort of classical rabbit hole, and then I thought I'd love to get some classical vinyl, but I hate going into record shops because I instantly feel like ignorant and insecure about flipping through, So a friend of mine, a guy called Peter Fortrup, who has a hi-fi company in Sussex, one of his old mates had passed away, and his son, he's called Toby Blackwood, who looks after like Tanya Donnelly and The Fall back in the day and stuff.
Right. Oh, right.
He had his father's collection of about 1,200 records of classical music. His father had worked at, I think, at the British Sound Archive and the British Library, and so it's a collection. And I just thought that would be a wonderful thing to do, to get that and explore it. And I've got lots of friends in classical music as well, and so my dream is to kind of use it as a way of if I've got friends coming over here where I live to maybe play, rehearse, or record or whatever classical stuff. The collection could be part of that story. So that's my dream anyway.
I mean, the vinyl album was invented for classical music because
really
it's called an album because it used to be to get a classical piece of classical work on one album, you needed about 6 78s, and they would all get slotted into a book, and that's why it's called an album, like a stamp album.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And then there was this chap, right, I'm going to bore you all here.
No, it's brilliant.
Goddard Lieberson. And Goddard Lieberson, who worked for CBS in America, invented or got people to invent for him the micro groove. And the micro groove, playing at 33 1/3, could contain 20 minutes of music, which was the length, roughly, of a movement in a symphony.
Right, okay.
So then you only needed like a double album.
Right. So all the technology was calibrated to the
classical.
Music. Yeah,
so you end up with Sgt. Pepper's 20 minutes aside concept album, or, Tales from Topographic Ocean, 4 sides of that, all based around classical music.
As is the CD, as is the length of the CD.
That's the head of Sony, wasn't it? He loved a Beethoven.
It's Beethoven's ninth. It's Beethoven's
right.
ninth.
Yeah.
72 minutes.
Well, I think those sort of ways of framing music, even in our digital age, I think they're still really valuable because it's a way of holding your attention. It's a way of of making the music, presenting in a really beautiful way. So
Well,
yeah.
it's interesting, and we can talk about it later because with something with maybe Kid A or some of your albums where you were sort of at the beginning of streaming, where the length of the album didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Was that well, I'll ask you now, was that something that you thought we don't need to contain this solely on vinyl?
No, because I think it was like we really loved the whole when we finish a record, the thing that, we do the record, we've got the mixes and everything. We always, the next thing, of course, I'm sure you've gone through this, is the running order of the songs. Which is, often a way for people to sort of, get things out of their system that they had been, over the whole recording and mixing period. And I mean, like the last one we did, was it In Rainbows, I think, or Moonshaped Pool? All the songs are like weirdly start in alphabetical order, all the titles. And it's got, so it's just a very useful organizing, method to still have it. So we still love, that idea that, you put a record on and you have to listen to it all the way through and then flip it or whatever. We've always tracked our records, even on digital, in that way.
At one, at two.
Yeah. Because again, that's the thing that changed also from vinyl to CD, wasn't it? Because CD is start to finish with an album. It's like, the shit tracks are track 4 on side 1.
Penultimate track.
Yeah, track 3, side 2, and then usually your save won't get fooled again for the end.
That's right. Yeah.
But there was a phase. There was obviously a fashion in the 90s for just putting all your best tracks at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, there's two famous I think Israeli psychologists. Thinking of Daniel Kahneman and the other guy, I can't remember his name. And they had that whole thing about the last thing you hear, like if you go on a holiday, 2 weeks on a cruise ship, and every day is amazing, and the last day your toilet backs up, you think the whole thing was crap. So you're like, having the last track is really good on the album. It's really, you're right. It's really
the last
important.
thing you hear. It's a bit like Trump's policies, really. Isn't it? The last person he speaks to.
That's right. Yeah. So it's really, like you say, it's really good to have a killer track at the end of side 2. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's true. But then there was also the thing in the 90s, wasn't there, when you had the mad loudness wars, when everything got completely slammed and there was no nuance on everything. Yeah. Everything was, I think Californication was the ultimate expression of that.
That's right.
It's just slammed from beat 1.
But how was that for you with Kid A? Because you'd made a real conscious choice about streaming, didn't you? And approaching the release of the music differently.
Yeah.
You actually, in a way, invented TikTok with iBlip.
TikTok.
Those little tiny videos.
I'm so sorry.
But it was blitz. Very
it was digital cottage industry, because we had our own recording studio, which was like this barn in Oxfordshire, very close to where we used to rehearse when we were kids at school. And we got, and Nigel, who's our producer, he'd get all this old broadcasting gear, VCR machines and mixers and things, and we just just do everything ourselves. And so it was all a bit sort of clunky and homemade, but hopefully endearing and from us, not mediated through anyone else. So you're right. It was all like that. When we did, was it called In Rainbows? We had Garth Jennings, who's amazing filmmaker, and Adam Buxton would make these little film clips and things as well. Little videos.
Ah, right.
So it was for songs from In Rainbows. So yeah, we've always sort of tried to be like that. Yeah.
Because
what was the? Sorry, go.
No. I just wanted to say that. Funnily enough, I bought my 3 sons that live here with me. They are, as opposed to my other son who's gone away. He's got his own house. But we bought them all Stanley Donwood prints for Christmas.
Amazing. Yeah.
There's a lovely gallery in the East End of London that sells Stanley's work. And
that's right. Yeah.
And they love it. They absolutely love it. And it came because we'd all gone to see you play at Wembley.
Yeah.
Not Wembley, wherever it was. O2. Thank you.
Did you come to the O2? Because I saw Guy at the O2.
I was there.
I was so blown away that you really, that's amazing.
And we took our boys, and of course, then they, so the Stanley Donwood artwork seemed like appropriate Christmas present.
Oh, that's great. Oh, what do you remember which night you came?
I don't actually. I think second.
Friday, Saturday, and Monday, Tuesday, I think.
Well, I wanted to ask, were you underneath the stage as the audience are coming in, or do you walk to the stage? I didn't see you walk into the stage.
We weren't underneath the stage, hooked up to IV drips and stuff, and like ready to like rise sort of vampirically.
Inflated.
Well, just, I remember because Adele did it in the round, didn't she? They'd bring her in a flight case, wouldn't they?
That's right. One of my very dear old friends, Richard, who was the production manager who sadly passed away, he was her production manager, and I think he would take her in a big flight case. That's right. And Richard Young, bless him. But they cleared the path for us to walk through the audience to get onto the stage, which was kind of amazing. It was like, it was like Rocky.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's an amazing way of setting your head before going onto the stage, because you walk through everybody, the crowd,
Wow, the standing
really
crowd.
amazing.
So you had
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Like, doing all that with the hands and stuff, like, and with people's and just it was really
kind of
amazing.
The most un-Radiohead thing in the world,
right? Well, I thought we should all have like sequin capes and things on
Yeah.
and stuff, And but it was like amazing. And in fact, you know what it's like when you play London. It's always a bit like tense because it's like a sort of home crowd and it's London and all that stuff. But actually, the London shows that we did at the O2 were kind of some of our favourite shows.
Oh, wow.
So,
sorry, Guy.
Sorry, Guy.
I don't want to give the show. No, this is probably a point to follow because I just wanted to. No, Garrett, you'd say something about the show because I've got something I wanted to lead on from.
Okay.
This.
Well, how was it getting back to, because you hadn't played together for a while.
No, that's right.
And what was that? What was that like in that first few days of rehearsals?
Well, we'd rehearsed, I think, the summer before. We'd booked in like 4 days in London, a studio in North London in Crouch End, and we all got together. I think it was in June the year before, and we hadn't hung out for ages, and we ran through some stuff. And it was one of the, you know what it's like when you get back together with your muckers and stuff, and you've got the muscle memory, and it's like, oh no, this is fine. This is all going to be fine. So then we didn't do the next 2 or 3 days. We only did like 1 day or something.
Wow.
And then we did the pre-production for the tour that we've just done, I think in September, October last year, again at the same place in Crouch End. And it was really great. It was really fun. And just really enjoyed, seeing everyone and running through stuff. And, for me personally, what was good was I've been playing a lot with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And so I think that brought like a different kind of energy and stamina to Radiohead from playing with those amazing musicians. So I've been playing with a guy called Larry Mullins, who's an amazing drummer. Played with Iggy Pop for like 19 years.
Yeah.
And he's a monster. He's amazing. And got a very amusing story about when he started work with the Bad Seeds. Nick looked him up. He said, and he looked at him and he said, oh God, he's really handsome, isn't he? And then he looked up Larry Mullins Jr. from U2.
Well, but because what I wanted to move on to, actually, funny enough, is exactly that. Because actually in the last 18 months, Colin, I've seen you play with 4 times. In 4 different configurations.
You glutton for punishment.
I think I'm quite the fanboy, actually. And which was that
you.
No, I came to Birmingham to see the Bad Seeds.
Yes.
The day I got back from New York with David Gill was the only chance to see the show.
Really?
I'll go anywhere to see Nick. I'll go anywhere. I'll fly to Milan to see him.
Amazing.
But it was amazing. Your energy in the band. Anyway, I saw you with him, and then I saw. Then I saw you with Radiohead, and then I saw you play with the solo gig with Nick.
Oh, did you?
St. Barnabas. Yeah. So, and then of course you played in the house band for that Marian Faithfull screening.
Oh yeah, that's
with
right.
an amazing lineup of people.
Oh man.
So you're everywhere, and
I am at the moment. Yes.
And if you don't mind, sorry, I don't mean to be too "this is your life" about it.
No,
but I took the liberty of I sent Nick a message yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I just said, have you got anything to say about Colin? Because I said I was speaking to you yesterday.
That's printable.
Yes. And so this Nick Cave said he's the most telepathically aware musician I've ever worked with. Nothing gets past him.
Well, stuff I play gets past me.
So,
There's a couple of Freddie Fluffington moments the other day, but
Well,
that's so kind of him, and he's such a mensch. I mean, really, I always wang on about it. The first time I saw the Bad Seeds was 2017. I think it was a Skeleton Tree tour in Antwerp at the Sport Palais, and the Sport Palais in Antwerp. It's
Right.
like rackety old arena, and I was just blown away by everything, by the band, by his presence, by the songs, the lyrics, everything. And he had like 20,000 Antwerpians, in the palm of his hand. It was just incredible.
Well,
That's
it's why I wonder
extraordinary.
yeah, no, go on, Gary.
I mean, it took him so long to break, didn't it, really, Guy?
Who? Nick?
Nick.
Nick, yeah. Well, this is what I love about Nick. He's the one person where, especially for the people I've been used to playing with, is the thing of he's bigger now than he's ever been.
Yeah.
And everyone's here. Everyone's there for the new album.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not there for Mercy Seat, or they are for Mercy and Into Your Arms, whatever. It's the new album.
Yeah,
and it's been like that for the last 4 or 5 albums since Push the Sky Away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got some homework to do for the upcoming shows, and
are you his main bass player now?
Well, I'm sort of standing in for the time being. I would say I'm not a Bad Seed, but I'm working with them for this period. But did you guys see the new Elvis Presley live film?
Yes, we've been raving about it. We loved it.
Right, I haven't seen it. All the guys have seen it, and is it Jerry Sheff is playing?
Jerry Sheff, yeah. Yes.
Fucking hell. Sorry. I mean, that's amazing. But so my part of my homework for the upcoming stuff is to learn a bunch of stuff from that. So tell me about the film.
Oh my God, it's incredible. There's it's like he invents the mashup in it. There's a bit where he's playing Little Sister. Remember that song? Right. Into Get Back into Little Sister, into Get Back. But the drummer, who's actually for me is the least known of that trio, because you got Burton, Sheff, and Tutt, isn't it? Derek Tutt.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Who sounds like a Spinal Tap drummer.
We met James Burton years ago. Amazing, and Ed used to go and hang out with him when he was in LA and stuff. And he wore a purple shell shirt. He was playing with Elvis Costello on Later with Jules in like 94, 95 when we were playing the Bends and stuff. And Mark Rebo was on guitar, and Costello's rhythm section. Pete.
Pete. Yeah. Pete Thomas.
Yeah.
Pete Thomas and Bruce Thomas.
What a lineup. Anyway. Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, it was the Imposters, wasn't it? They were called the Imposters.
That's right.
No, because the most interesting thing about that, having him in the band as well, is you've got all the soul stuff, because you've got those the singers, and the drummer and the bass player. They're kind of rock, you know. But then you've got James Burton, who's just saying, "But don't forget where I come from." I'm a Southern guy, this, and he reminds you of all the sort of the Memphis Mafia that are hanging around in the wings.
That's right.
Sound is, it's Elvis's charisma most of all, and his voice. I mean, it's amazing. The arrangements are out of this world. And the mix, so you'll hear the bass.
Yeah.
It's so clear.
Yeah,
it's so. It's interesting. Something I found out recently was someone just sent me a message because I posted something on somewhere about how amazing the film is, and someone said, "Did you know that Jerry Sheff lives in a little village on the Scottish borders?"
I know he lives in Europe, but I didn't know where. Yeah,
he's
really?
in a little village on the Scottish borders, because apparently it's someone who knows someone who's got a music shop in Glasgow, and every now and then Jerry Sheff pops in for bass strings.
Of course he does.
Where's he from originally? Where's he from originally?
Sorry?
Where is he from originally?
I don't know. Tupelo. I don't know.
I don't know. But I think he's lived in like Berlin and Scandinavia and stuff as well. I think he's.
You were really going on an embarrassing Colin a minute ago with your your fanboy stuff. Just to finish up on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Just talk to me and explain to us who are non-bass players what makes Colin who he is as a bass player. I need to know this.
That's a very good point. I mean, there's another point that as a bass player, it's a truth. You're very much like a jazz player, like a jazz or classical player. And in that he can be like really fantastically melodic parts to take up a lot of room, but don't eat up too much frequency, because your sound is always very constant, Colin, isn't it? And it's very, very old school sound. It's
I got
your
a great bass.
It's like almost a dub sound.
Yeah, well, I got a great bass from Nashville, when I was playing the solo shows with Nick about 2 years ago. I went to Carter's Music Shop. Have you been to Carter's?
Oh,
In
okay.
Nashville? That was insane. It was like this young guy who was like working there. He was telling me he would be selling guitars to like hedge fund people, and he said, "Do you want to try it?" He said, "No, they said I don't play guitar. You play it for me." And they'd be like $250,000, $400,000, Gibsons and stuff like that. They just wanted to have there's a Anyway, but he had this bass. It was a Fender 162 Precision, and it was an Earl Scruggs bassist had played it, and bassist was Steve Earle.
Right.
As well, and because you and I have talked about P basses, because you told me that it's not your go-to bass, is it?
That's right. But although I tend to have to play a lot.
Yeah,
I've softened towards.
It's funkier though, isn't it? A P bass.
No, jazz is funkier because it's got the back pickups, got the front end.
And then I told Guy that my mate Nigel who's our producer, is not a fan of recording jazzes, because he says it can be noisy and stuff. So at some point I'm going to seriously pick your brains, Guy, about all of that stuff. And I noticed you have behind you.
See, the key is, Colin, this
sir.
is Betsy, which is the great, and the key to making your jazz sound amazing. This is a 64 jazz, burgundy mist.
Amazing.
Only ever made 3 this colour.
Right.
Was John Entwistle's.
No way.
Yeah, and he had the whole set this colour.
Amazing.
EMGs. EMG pickups.
Don't go anywhere. I'll be straight back.
Can I just, at this point, just apologise to our audience who have no interest in the bass guitar, electronics, or the wood, or the provenance, or the fact that you've strangely called it after a woman. Why did you choose Betsy? Hang on. Colin's back with almost
Colin's got a Betsy.
A Betsy colour.
What year is that?
It's a 62, I think, and it used to be owned by Norman Watt-Roy.
Oh yeah,
you got Norman's bass
from the Blockheads.
Hang on, is that the Shoreline Gold?
Yes.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah. So my bass teacher, who sadly passed, called Lawrence Canty, who taught me and a bassist from Paul Weller's band and some other people. He emailed me once and said, Norman Watt-Roy's selling his bass, because I was like, would you be interested?
Oh, my God. So that's hit me with your rhythm stick right there.
Well, I think he had the Fender, he had a P as well, but this is his live bass as well. This is his, it's got like the fag burns at the top.
I've played it. Yeah, no, I've played it. I know Norman, yes.
Yeah.
I've stood in for him with the Blockheads.
Amazing.
The worst thing hang on.
He toured with Nick Cave as well. He did the solo thing with Nick.
That's right.
That's right, with the drums. So tell me about your experience with him, Guy.
With Norman?
Yeah.
Nothing. No, he's just a mate as a bass player. I mean, I've had to depth for him because Lee Harris, who Gary and I played with Saucerful of Secrets, who started the band. He used to manage and look after the Blockheads.
Amazing.
And so he would, and so he would get me to say, the first gig I did with them was at Crop Ready. Right. No rehearsal. I hadn't even met the band. So in front of 16,000 cable knit jumpers, I had to play Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick.
Thank God for cider.
Yes, exactly.
I know. It's amazing.
I think what makes you slightly different is the space you leave. You're very good at that, and maybe that does go back to a certain amount of reggae influence. I don't know.
Well, I used to play classical guitar when I was a kid, so I think the melodic thing could come from that. And then the other thing I think is because I was in a band with 3 guitarists, and it was like I'm always trying to think about what I'm going to do. So it's the thinking time of what I'm going to do that makes the gaps.
Although because with the Bad Seeds, you don't play so much like that. And it's really interesting because that's different to how the Bad Seeds sounded before, and it works fantastically.
Yeah.
The way you play.
Well, when I saw them in Antwerp, I had this sort of vision of them as a sort of dark, sort of supper club, soul, Isaac Hayes, Lake Tahoe, that sort of Jim again, all that. That's how I saw them, because their drummer who was playing was a guy called Tommy Vindler, who's an incredible sort of jazz. He's their old school. So they had this sound that I just thought was amazing. But then of course, I'm treading in giants' feet when I'm playing some of the bass lines. Obviously, Marty is an amazing bass player who's there, and then they've also worked with Barry Adamson.
That's right.
Oh, right, yeah.
Who was one of my bass heroes when I was a kid with Magazine. I was obsessed with
Visage. Yeah.
Yeah, and and Barry wrote the bass line for Tupelo, dum dum boom,
Right.
Which I can't play.
Actually, funny enough, I listened to it on Live God yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. It sounds like you're playing with a pick, which is something you don't do.
Yeah, I am playing with a pick, which is
because I know you're not a pick guy.
No, not really.
Like me.
No.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can I get off the fucking bass for a second? Jesus Christ. And just interested in about you and your brother growing up and what your connection was together in music. I mean, obviously, I grew up with, I had a brother in my band too. There's a few of us around.
Yeah, absolute siblings.
How was it for you with music and him?
Well, the connection I suppose I would bring is we've got an older sister who's 8 years older than us, and she was the one that sort of brought music into the house. She was at college and she brought Joe Jackson's Jumping Jive.
Yeah.
Or there's an album by The Beat called Wappen. And Magazine, she turned us onto Magazine. Loads of music that she brought. Brought Record Matumbi, Dennis Bovell, stuff like that. So, that was all the stuff that we were listening to when we were kids, because it's brilliant having an older sibling. I don't know if your brother's older or younger than you.
He's 2 years younger.
Right, okay. So how would that work with you with sharing music and stuff?
Well, we didn't have an older sister, but it was, I remember the first time we ever bought a record, the two of us went with our paper round money down to the record shop consciously to buy a single. We had no idea what we were buying. And we were constantly showing each other music. Because I was 2 years older, I guess I was, I'd bring in Humble Pie or I'd bring in Roxy Music or, but we weren't playing together. He was actually initially the roadie when we first started out.
Right.
And it was only
that's what little brothers are for.
It was only because he was the best looking guy we knew that we decided we had to teach him the bass.
Yeah.
But
wow.
But I think it's interesting with Magazine because I can see, McGeoch's guitar playing.
Yeah.
You can easily draw a line between that and what you guys end up doing.
Yeah.
Well, they asked my brother when they reformed about 12 years ago, they asked my brother if he wanted to do some shows with them. Bless them. And then when we were kids, me and my brother growing up outside Abingdon, he guitar wasn't his first instrument. So he was playing the viola, I think. And he listened to Lou Reed's album New York, the New York album.
Oh yeah.
And the Pixies, Joey Santiago, and those were his sort of, records that he sort of, started playing the guitar with.
What about
That's
you?
funny
When did you pick up the bass? Sorry, go.
Oh, well, it's also I'm a soul boy, so it's like Donald Duck Dunn and Otis Redding, Booker T. Because those lines are quite simple but groovy, so they're quite easy to sort of pick up and stuff, And so that was and then Peter Hook, New Order as well, of course. I was obsessed with Joy Division.
Yeah.
So those are my things, and James Brown, and I was a soul boy because it was all the acid jazz stuff was happening in the early 90s as well, wasn't it? You remember like Brand New Heavies and
JTQ.
I booked them when I was a ENS officer of my college ball. I booked JTQ.
That's funny. That's a great bass player. Great. He's playing. Great hit that, but he's playing with Pulp now. In fact,
is he?
Yeah.
Great. Amazing. We just did that thing with Marianne Faithfull 2 weeks ago with Mark Webber and Jarvis Cocker.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was really.
So what was it? So it's the documentary, is it?
It was there was a screening, Gary, at the Barbican of the documentary, and then this all-star band played afterwards, and it's Beth Orton, Jarvis Cocker.
And did you sort of play broken English?
Rufus Wainwright. I mean,
Nadine Shah.
Yeah.
Anna Calvi. It was all these people who worked with Marianne Faithfull. She made like 20 odd records, and they had some great stories. And Rob Ellis, who was doing the drumming, he was like the MD.
Yeah.
He played on those early PJ Harvey EPs that we were obsessed with, when we were in the Rusty White van going around England in the 90s. And then I got the gig because my mate Adrian from Portishead called me about 2 months ago and said, did I want to take part? And I was like, bloody hell. So I got to stand next to like one of my all-time musical heroes, Adrian, so it was just amazing.
You supported them, didn't you, for a bit, PJ Harvey?
We did a couple of. I think we supported her in America in LA at some gig being with. I can't remember. Yeah, and oh god, in fact, we did a gig with them. We were first on, and it was Gallon Drunk, and then PJ Harvey at New York at the what's it called, the Academy or something like that. And it was my birthday, and we were just signing to Capitol Records in June, whenever that was, 1992 or three or something. And they were all competing to vie for our affections, the record company and the agents. So it was a really hot day in June, and they bought me these 2 massive ice cream cakes because I never had an ice cream cake before. So the agent ran out to get and then the record company got an even bigger one. And then Polly appeared into the dressing room and said to me, "Don't trust the record company." That was quite fun.
Were you on a Friday at that point?
No, we were Radiohead. We'd already signed to EMI in the UK, and then it was about, there were 2 EMI labels in America. There's EMI SBK on the East Coast, and there's Capitol Records on the West Coast. So they were sort of, bidding for our affection. So we went with Capitol. Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say, 'cause on a Friday, as a name,
terrible. I'm so sorry.
No, because I've heard you say that before. I know that you came up with it, and it's because you came up with it, and it's because you used to rehearse on a Friday, right?
Yes.
No, I think the problem here, Colin, is that you're just stuck with that context. When I hear on a Friday, Gary, I bet you agree with me. When I hear on a Friday, I think of an angry young man, 1950s kitchen sink, Royal Court Theatre play.
Yeah, okay. All right. I can see that. Or maybe on a Friday, that's the day you get your wages, and the weekend starts there, Sort of hedonistic, sybaritic lifestyle that's just like Radiohead. I mean, it's like, So yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, that's well.
And I can imagine starring Tom York, obviously.
That's right. That's right. Going out on the lash with his paper.
But okay, let's talk about Tom, because I just he's an extraordinary character, and your first impression and how you knew immediately he was the singer. And
well, we were at school. I met him when I was like 11 or 12 because we were in classrooms together at school, and he played We had classical guitar lessons together, and we had the same teacher. And then we used to sort of jammed a bit in the music school, and we very, very briefly did like a little thing where we played he's got obviously an amazing voice. It's like John Dowland and stuff like that, and I played classical guitar, and we did Phil's sister's wedding. We played for that. That was our one and only engagement. And we thought we'd have a career of weddings, bar mitzvahs, and funerals and stuff.
Playing classical music.
What were we playing?
With John Dowland.
John Dowland, yeah.
So that's all 16th century, isn't it? Or...
Yeah, 16th century sort of lute music transcribed to the guitar. We only ever did one. So that was a very brief foray into that world, and then we basically spent all our time. What happened was Ed and Tom started the band, I think, and then they asked me, and I said, well, yeah, I could play guitar. And Ed said, no, I'm playing guitar. And I was like, okay, you can play bass. So that's how it started. Yeah. So I got the bass guitar, and then
it's always the case, isn't it?
It's always the case. And then Phil, who's like 2-3 years older than us, he already had a really cool band called Jungle Telegraph, which is a great name. And we got him in, and then we used to have a drum machine called Dr. Rhythm, and then we got Phil in, and then my brother. I got my brother in on, I think, Penny Whistle. Originally, we played the Rock Garden, Covent Garden, and he had a keyboard, a DX27, and a penny whistle, and I forgot the keyboard stand, so he had to stand with his back to the audience with the keyboard on the back of an amp, back of the thing in the Rock Garden. So, and he's never let me forget that.
We used to play the Rock Garden. What a gig!
Did you?
Wow. Yeah. Before we were Spandau Ballet, it's in Covent Garden.
Amazing. Yeah, under the old Apple, under the new Apple shop.
I remember. The first manager was an old mate of my dad. He was a jazz drummer.
Amazing.
Gary something. Yeah. Anyway, well, hang on. When was this? When did the Rock Garden close?
That was in the summer of 1990, 91, I think.
Because it was quite quick that you got a deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's crazy because we played at this little club called the Jericho Tavern in Oxford in the summer of 91, I think it was, or something, 1991. And we went from doing a couple of shows there we had like 30 odd, 37 or whatever it was, record company people came to, and Mac, who is the amazing sort of, the heart of the musical scene in Oxford, made them all pay, which was really good. And
Quite right.
yeah, and quite right too. And that's when we met our management. We did like a handshake after the show, and yeah, it happened really fast because we were signed by this guy called Nick Gatfield at EMI.
Oh God,
and,
Nick.
Yeah, and I think he thought he was getting some kind of sort of English indie version of a mashup between Metallica and the Pixies or something like that, because that was that time, you remember, there was all that guitar loud and quiet and stuff like that, and Nirvana, that's right, Nirvana, because Nirvana just changed everything, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
that obviously was an influence on you to a large extent.
Well, we discovered. Well, I didn't have one because I'm not allowed to have pedals on the floor when we play because I step on them by mistake sometimes. And so, but we all had distortion pedal. They'd be on top of the amplifier. So it's been some embarrassing moments, but but the guys all got distortion pedals. You know what it's like when tell me you've been in your band, and the first time you get like a distortion pedal and you tread on it, it's like, fuck, that's amazing.
Yeah, you take off, don't you? It's incredible.
Power. That's right, and the dynamic. So, like the first record we had, there's lots of those quiet, loud bits, because of that, and but that's kind of how we got signed.
But that suited Tom so much because he had the ability to have intimacy in his vocal.
Right.
That I think he, more than any singer that I know, and what he did, he sort of pervade a kind of bedsit quality about his voice.
Yeah. Well, the songs are written. A lot of the songs at that stage he'd written them in a bedsit, on an acoustic guitar. There's a song called, is it Airbag? On the first record, song on OK Computer. And he'd written it on an acoustic guitar with his open string tunings, and it's so beautiful, And he'd send cassettes around to everyone when we were at college and stuff, and we'd just like play them to death, and listen to, acoustic versions of songs like Creep and Airbag and things like that. And it was just really magical in my little beatbox at college.
Because that's you went to Cambridge, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to college. Yeah.
So you're all at different colleges.
Yeah, right? That's right.
But the band is still together. I mean, that must seem quite tricky. That's like one of those long distance love affair things.
Yeah. Well, it was. We all got together every holidays, and we played every village hall in southern Oxfordshire, and that's what we did. And I'd call up and book all the rehearsals for the village halls, and we'd each put £1.50 together, and we'd go into the village hall, and sometimes there'd be play equipment still, then we'd have to move everything up, and stuff like that. And it was a really amazing friendship and experience to do that. Yeah.
So quintessentially English. I love it.
Very English.
All the village halls and school. You're the sort of Gen X Genesis in a way.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. I mean, when did you, because obviously there was a feeling in the Bends that you're discovering who you are and being brave enough to be who you are finally.
Yeah. Well, that was really hard doing that record because we made it with an amazing gentleman called John Leckie.
Oh, yes.
And it was the first we recorded, I'm sure you guys have worked there, is Rack Studios in St John's Wood.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse studio.
Yeah.
He was always in the TV room at the back.
Well, that's where
lying on the sofa. Yeah.
Jimmy Page was the resident guitarist, back
and John Paul Jones.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Stephen Haig, the producer, was at the back who worked with.
That's Steve. Yes, I used to play on all Stephen's stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
I used to play on all Stephen's records. I did.
Amazing, because he did lots of New Order.
He did lots of New Order stuff. Yeah, but he actually produced the Robbie Robertson album that I was on, and then also, in fact, was it the number one? You Don't Know What It's Like, the Jimmy Somerville Bee Gees cover. Yeah,
Jimmy, he was always, because I think he was managed by by the studio. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. So
it's still family run, even though Mickey's gone and his wife's gone.
Right,
it's still now. I think it's run by the daughter. It's a wonderful studio.
It's amazing. I mean, Scott Walker. I mean, who hasn't? Gary
Kemp. I always do playing Gary's stuff at Rack. He's always at Rackham,
Really?
yeah.
My solo stuff,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. So we went there with John Leckie because we'd rehearsed and toured the songs, and you know what guys, you know what it's like when you've got the songs and they sound amazing, and then you go into the studio and they have to be a different step up in terms of quality, because you can play it and it sounds really exciting, but when you put it under the sort of forensic X-ray scrutiny of the tape and it's not quite good enough, and that was a real hard schooling for us, Yeah, I remember John Leckie and my brother. He was doing the guitar solo on a song called "Just," and my brother was just like, ripping through it. Leckie made him play it like 20 or 30 times.
Right. Yeah.
So would you say it was Leckie that was allowing you? Was it John Leckie who was allowing you to be Radiohead, to find because what you end up with OK Computer, is like nothing else.
Yeah,
I know your influences may well have gone, from Magazine to REM or to Nirvana, but you end up finding something that is, really unique. Yeah, especially at a time when Britpop, everything sounds like Britpop.
Yeah. Well, we were really lucky because there was a new, I think, Radio 1 controller, a guy called Michael Bannister or someone.
Matthew Bannister, yeah.
Matthew Bannister. And when we put out OK Computer, the first single, I think, was Paranoid Android, which was like 6 minutes long or something. And Radio 1, they were sort of changing over their format at the time, I think, and they played that. So we were very fortunate. But OK Computer, we made that in Jane Seymour's house in
But also lovely with Nigel. Nigel's now producing, isn't he?
That's right. Well, we met Nigel at Rack. Nigel was the. Because
I was wondering if he came with John Leckie, because Nigel had engineered both the albums before, hadn't he?
No, yes, that's right. He'd engineered. Yes. Well, John's very hands-on. John Leckie is. I mean, that man. I mean, he's a walking encyclopedia of British. I mean, he was in the studio with Beatles, when Sid came back with Floyd, that's right. And he helped get, I think John Lennon was on the roof, like tripping at Abbey Road in the session when he was working. And where's John? Oh, God. And he was on that session. I mean, that man is, he made some of my favorite records as well. Like the XTC side project. I mean, what that man hasn't done.
Oh, Dukes of Stratosphere.
Dukes of Stratosphere, obviously Stone Roses, loads of stuff. And one of the great thrills for me on the Radiohead album, The Bends, is I got to play. Leckie had a little Music Master, and what's it called? A little short scale bass. I play on the first song. It's called Planet Telex, and it's the bass that Manny, bless that man, played Fool's Gold.
Oh wow!
So I got to play the Fool's Gold bass that he did on, which is amazing. So anyway, so I'm rambling, but
no, please.
Yeah. So, but Nigel, we met Nigel.
Matthew.
Yeah. No, and I was going back to talk about our producer Nigel, who recorded, assisted on the Bends, and Leckie went off to do some mixing, and whilst he was away, we got to play with Nigel. We did a song called Black Star. So Nigel recorded that song, which is an incredibly beautiful song that Tom wrote on the Bends. And
I wonder if David Bowie heard that.
Yeah, I wonder. I think he came to see us play in New York at Madison Square like years ago, which I was just like amazed that he came.
I couldn't imagine he wouldn't actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was amazing. So Nigel recorded that, and that ended up going on the Bends. I love that song, the Black Star. And then we edited it at, this is a real ramble, at Abbey Road. You know, when you master a record, you go to Abbey Road.
Yeah. Well, amongst others, but yes.
Amongst others. And there's these guys with like big Baker-like knobs and EQ desks, like practically wearing, and this amazing guy called Chris Blair. And we had this song called Black Star that was on, and I was really into, there's a song called Ordinary World by Duran Duran.
Oh, yeah.
And the way it ramps up, at the beginning of the song, and so I arranged it, and I wanted to make it a similar arrangement.
Oh, my God. We had Nick on last week. I wonder if he knows that.
Yeah.
That's not a link I was expecting.
No, we were briefly labeled stablemates because they were on EMI, I think, or Parlophone, I can't remember. But yeah, so
Colin, I remember I'm sure I remember this. I remember because I was making my first solo album in Abbey Road in 94, 95, and you guys were in.
Right.
And
that would be the Bends.
And they said, they don't come out. They're very secretive. And I went down past your studio and you had newspapers stuck up against the window.
No, no, I don't believe that. I can't believe we would have done
I
that.
think there was a lot of mystique around what you were doing at the time. And I think we were
Where
hoping.
Where were you with which studio were you in at Abbey Road?
I can't remember.
Right.
3. I worked in 2 actually.
Yeah.
2 and 3. But
I always find 2 really intimidating because that's the Beatles one.
Well, this is the thing. When you go into 2, you have that intimidation, but it can add to your work. So it can go both ways. Either you make the greatest thing you've ever done,
right,
and you see John, you know, or you shit yourself and it's awful and you'll never talk about it again. Because
that's right.
You know, it is intimidating.
Yeah.
You can see George Martin almost looking out of that top window.
That's right.
Well, I always remember David Gilmour telling the story. He said, like, when he first started playing with Pink Floyd and they went and did some session at Abbey Road and he had to do a guitar and vocal track on his own. And he went and stood in the middle of the huge room and he just went and stood there in the middle and he was about to start singing and he just looked through the door and in the window, John Lennon is just looking through the window.
No. What year was this?
68.
Wow.
No pressure.
Because they would have been doing some of the White Album or something.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, it's weird how far away all that stuff is, but how close and recent it is as well, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's amazing.
Do you know?
It's getting closer. It's getting closer because of all the discoveries of everything, of all the footage and everything. I remember when we used to talked about this when we had P.P. Arnold on the show. I remember when I used to work with her in the 80s, and we talk about these people from the 60s, and it seemed further away then.
Yeah,
because there was no real way of connecting with it.
No. Well, I think digital's done that. I think digital's flattened the landscape, music landscape, hasn't it? You know, all my kids, they'll listen to I don't know.
It's a great way of putting it.
They'll listen to Stevie Nicks or they'll listen to, whatever the latest hip hop thing is or whatever, you know, everything's up for grabs, you know. And when I was a kid, it was all tribal, you know, you were a goth. You liked New Album or you liked post-punk, whatever, you know, and none of those genres would ever really meet, would they?
No, I think, well, certainly my kids, middle-class kids, are private school.
What are their...
Well, it's everything, you know. They do listen to some London. They do listen to rap, you know, and some darker stuff, hip-hop. But really, their main, he comes to me and says, you know, have you heard of this band? They play a song called Africa. You know, and you're like, Toto, right? Okay, I think I've heard of them. But and we've had musicians on, like John Fogerty came on, talking about being the biggest band in America, and they've not released a song since 1973. You know, so there is that. I just want to go back a bit, just to say, OK Computer meant so much to me. I just come out of a divorce, and I was trying to get my feet, you know, back, you know, stand up again on my own 2 feet, as it were, and had a young boy, and I just remember, you know, I was beginning to have some relationships with people. OK Computer was what helped me out.
Amazing. Yeah.
I never knew what any of the tracks were called. I would play the album from beginning to the end, and there was something very skillful about it. It was, and I remember going to Guy's house. We were working on something together, you and I. This is 90, whenever it was, 97, and you saying, "Oh my God, these are the new Pink Floyd."
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
You were saying, you know, and I think it was the trick of being ethereal and aesthetic and you know, art school, if you like, but at the same time, great melodies and all very emotional.
Yeah.
Tom is a very emotional singer.
Yeah, he's got that ability to like find these amazing melodies that sort of, you know, provoke those emotions and then also sort of soothe them at the same time. Do you know what I mean? He's sort of what I love about his songwriting, I think about it a lot, is he can sort of articulate these feelings, you know, and but then the music can sort of provide some kind of like, I don't know, there's that great quote about music. It's like, it's a companion in joy and a remedy for sorrows. And I think, you know, that's what we all love about music, is that you can celebrate with it, and then it's there for you when you're sad and you need some kind of like, you know, soundtrack for how you feel in a sort of cathartic way. And he's got that ability, that magic to be able to do those things, you know.
Did it feel like the stars were aligning? Because, I mean, that is kind of, you know, I mean, not to dismiss any of the great work you've done since, but that's kind of your dark side of the moon, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, Nigel, you know, made its amazing sound world, put this, because we didn't really know what we would do. You know, we had, you know what it's like when you're starting up and you get to a certain level, but you really don't know at the same time. So that sort of ignorance gives you sort of cockiness, doesn't it? To try things out. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you know, in your 20s and stuff, and you think you've played along with people and you've played with your friends, and then you think, yeah, well, you can do anything, can't you? You're not aware of, you know, you'll try anything at least once.
Yeah, you're not popping out of yourself every 5 minutes to be objective. Oh God, what will Radio 1 think? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm sure you've both had those experiences.
Yeah. You know? Why Jane Seymour's house?
Well, we were big fans of this advert for a fragrance called the Jardin de Max Factor, where she'd walking through Elizabethan Knot Garden at dawn in mist and stuff. And we thought, well, we have to go. No, I don't. That's not true. Obviously.
I've been there a few times. I've been there.
You had me.
Have you been there, guy?
But I mean,
no.
But we went.
Maybe I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah. So you've been there, Gary. You said.
Yeah. My friend lives in the same valley. In fact, he's in music as well. He's
amazing.
Patrick Woodruff designs all the shows for the Rolling Stones and Genesis and blah blah blah, and thousands of great artists. Yeah, and he lives in that wonderful valley. And I've been down there to various parties, and it's very ghostly. It's gothic, and in fact, his wife has seen a ghost in there.
Well, Tom felt spirits presences for sure. That's true.
But I think you just like setting up space, don't you, in somewhere and making it your own.
Yeah, well, because, you know, a lot of this was, you know, Nigel was like, he's all about going off and having adventures, you know, and places. We rented out all these different dilapidated country houses around the country, you know, Wiltshire, Tottenham House for In Rainbows, and then Batsford, which is this crazy crumbly place up in the Cotswolds, and we put the mixing desk in because, you know, Nigel's like a massive Led Zepp fan.
I was just going to say, it's like Zeppelin 3 and 4, isn't it?
Exactly. And
have you worked at Headley Grange then?
No. Have you?
No.
I mean, we haven't been, but so that's what we do that, and you know, we'd start the projects there quite often, you know, and it would give it an energy, and it would get everyone away from, like, you know, being at home and then like being in the studio here and then going to feed the kids at 5:30 and stuff like that. So, you know, so that's why we did it. But I'm trying to remember OK Computer, it was but a bunch of people have used her house. It was a New Order used it, The Cure. I think Robbie used it as well.
I think, did you start it? Were you the first?
I think we were the first, pretty much, yeah. So
she sold it now. It's owned by a Russian.
Yeah, she sold it. That's right. And then, of course, down the road is I'm sure I've never worked there, but I'm sure you have. Is Real World.
Yeah.
Which is Peter Gabriel's place. Which
That's amazing.
I remember we were on tour. We went to look at it. We were in the tour bus and we were a bit stinky coming off the tour bus, and it's this, sort of this idyll, and there was a babbling brook, and there was a kingfisher like plunging, and we were like, wow, this is amazing, you know. And but we didn't use that because it felt too professional.
But the area suits Radiohead. That area, which has sort of ley lines and standing stones, isn't it?
That's right. We'd go on like midnight walks across like frost-encrusted hills, like over the top of the valley and stuff. And we set up to record in this old Elizabethan like ballroom with lots of candles and things. And, you know, and then Phil would play drums up in the nursery at the top on that song Exit Music for a Film, surrounded by like cushions and cots and things to make that sort of dead sound. So it was just all incredibly magical experience. Yeah.
Did you ever have when Kid A, you're making this when that album came out, I remember being so surprised, right?
Yeah,
obviously,
well,
like everyone else.
Surprised.
I tell you what I was. I was in there. I was in LA, right?
And
I'm hanging out with a family friend, Jude Law.
Yeah.
We went to see you play at the Greek.
Yeah, that's
together.
right. Yeah, I met him a few times because he in Oxford and stuff. Yeah, that's right.
And that's where I first heard that album. It was in his car, and we were driving around, and
amazing.
It was quite shocking in a way. I did, you know, it took me a while to embrace it.
Yeah.
And how was it? It was a daring record for you to put out after OK Computer, wasn't it?
Yeah, but if I can just return to what you said about being in LA and listening to music, I mean, one of the magical things about going to America is that the molecules in the air are different and the radio's different. So when you hear, I remember the first time I heard U2 in America, it was like, oh my God, this is like, you know, I get it.
Absolutely right.
You
Yeah, I
know,
know
It's the
exactly
FM
what you
radio.
mean.
I remember in the early 80s
No, but it's
getting...
context. It's context
Yeah.
as well.
I
isn't it?
remember getting in a car, my first trip to LA, and getting in the car.
So
they
what
said,
was it like when you heard your music for the first time in America, LA, like that?
Well, it just sounded so much better on their radio. You know, it was, and of course
Yeah, I
it's a
know.
buzz, isn't it? But,
It's a
you know,
buzz.
the first thing I think I heard in LA was Journey or something, you know, when we were
Maybe,
sitting in the
yeah.
limo, we thought, that's
Yeah.
it, we're here.
That's it,
You know?
amazing. So did you guys, like, when you, what was your first trip to, our first was in 92 and they sent a white stretch limo to LAX to pick us all up.
Yeah,
Did you have that?
Yeah, well, we did get the white stretch. I think we got the black stretch one. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got it,
black
definitely.
stretch.
In
It was
LA,
brilliant,
absolutely, with all
yeah.
the lights inside. You that was it.
Amazing. Yeah, there's something less glamorous about like 6 or 7 like sweaty English people for playing crammed into a little limo.
I know.
You know.
So, but just talk. I'm talking about why you. There was a real challenge to yourself, that record, and did
Yeah.
is
Well,
that
what
part of the
happened-
attitude of Radiohead, that it was
Yeah.
like, we can do what we want. This is something we're exploring as artists.
Well, we started that in France at a famous studio in Paris called Guillaume Tell, which is north in Suresnes. It's an old cinema. It's where the Cure did pornography, I think. And the deal was like Tom arrived, we all arrived, and Tom had been listening to a bunch of electronic stuff, and it was like, but how are we going to like accommodate, you know, stuff like that with what we do, you know? So he was like asking, he was asked, sounds like a sports cliche, asking questions. So it was about how to get our heads around that. So it was like it was a process really. But I think the main thing on that record was the song called Kid A, which was Tom with a Prophet keyboard, and then Nigel did all these sorts of electronic treatments and stuff, you know, right? That was really the sort of the breakthrough song, I think, maybe on that record, maybe, I don't know, but it's an amazing piece of music, that first track, you know, amazing colors. But it was difficult because it was like, you know, how are we going to do this thing, you know? So we all went and, you know, I looked at lots of electronic music and stuff and samplers, and we all got into that stuff. But it's just, you know, I don't know. I don't know how
I mean, you think it wouldn't be unusual, because this is like 15 years after Bowie does Low, and you know, we've all been inspired by Neu and Kraftwerk, and yet there was something still very futuristic about that album.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, a lot of that's down to Nigel's ability to, like, you know, make this, but we're all into like Kraftwerk and obviously New Order and electronic stuff, and, you know, and more obscure stuff perhaps, like sort of German Conny Plank stuff, like you said, Neu, all that stuff, Motorik stuff, you know, and
DAF.
you know, so it was, you know, it's very. It's a good question I could ask you, gentlemen. It's like when you play music to each other when you're working, it's quite, you know, it's like it's a bit different from just playing records at home to friends and family, because it's quite sort of, you know, bit taste. You're sort of exposing part of yourself, what you like and what you don't like, you know. And you could play something, and some people in your band can say, "Do you listen to that crap for fun?"
Yeah,
you know, I've had a few experiences with that.
But that was Tom guiding that, do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, Tom, my brother, but everyone's got very, you know, strong feelings about music and taste and stuff, and they're quite diverse as well, which I think is.
I think it made a big statement about, because we all got to love it, and I think it made a big statement about, you know, you weren't kowtowing.
No, well.
But also, it was almost like once you got on that bus, once you got over that you could do it, that you sort of, you stayed in that arena, didn't you? It's like,
that's right.
Well, kind of.
Well, we nearly got dropped by EMI, I think in 92, 93, I think. And then thankfully we didn't, and then OK Computer and everything was, and the Bends, because the Bends came out, it was our second album, And people basically, the number of times I was working in America, I talked to journalists and they said, well, we didn't bother listening to it because, you know, we thought you were a one-hit wonder band with Creep on Pablo Honey, the first album. And you remember, like, journalists had like computer towers, you know, they'd write stuff, you know, like, back in the day. And they said, just gather dust because we never bothered. And then what happened is word of mouth happened. People said, you need to check this record out called The Bends. So when we put OK Computer out, people said, well, I'm not going to sleep on this one like I did on The Bends. That's basically what happened. So it was amazing.
Yeah, going back when you're talking about all that, like all the sounds, the electronic music, the stuff, because this is, you've kind of answered it by saying snapping on pedals, but I don't think there's more to it than that, because it's like you're so into. I mean, never mind pedals and stuff. I mean, Johnny writes effect code, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah,
that's how you're that deep into it.
Yeah, he does. There's this, but he's got a thing called Max MSP on his computer, which is like, but under the bonnet of like samplers and stuff. It's like a code thing. That's what he uses. Yeah.
But it's like having if a band of 5 Enos or whatever, is it?
No, it's not.
but this is the interesting thing is for a band who certainly that direction you took up it's so much about manipulating sound. It's not about like, right, let's get a guitar sound. It's like, we get a guitar sound. Now what do we do with that?
Yeah.
And then you are such a contrast to that.
Yeah. Well,
in that you are, like I said, you are such a fantastically proper bass sound.
Well, my brother.
I'm sure there are times you do weird.
Yeah. Well, no, but you know, no. I'm not really. I told you, I think I'm not really allowed. I mean, I do have a pedal board now. I wasn't allowed one for a very long time because, you know, in front of like 30,000 people in a quiet song, I might tread on the distortion pedal or like the wrong or whatever.
I love that.
You know, the tuner pedal where you press the button and it cuts.
And it mutes everything. Yeah, and
I've done that.
And it never occurs to you that it's that. You got crew on there pulling everything in that. It never occurs to you that it's just the tuner pedal.
Well, Johnny Marr said to me or Ed, you know, if you make a mistake, the thing you need to do is just glower at your tech. Just glare at them.
That's what Pete Townsend does most nights.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But
or do it again, or do it again,
or do it twice. That's right. That's right.
That's the jazz one.
Yeah,
the jazz way. And what was I going to say? Yeah, my brother's very sort of pure. He's very much, he believes like one guitar and one amp. You know, that's all you need type thing. You know, he's very, you know, when we were doing the shows with Radiohead at the O2 and stuff, all the guitars are under the stage. You know, there's like, I was looking at these guitars and they were like, I don't know, 20 odd guitars. I thought, that's amazing. I thought those are all like Ed and Tom's guitars. And Adam, who looks after Ed, said, no, those are just Ed's guitars. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's incredible. And, but I'm the same. I just like, I've got my P bass. That's all I want and I need, and it's just an amazing thing.
How do you approach the time signatures that sometimes come up? Because I love it. I mean, Pyramid Song comes along and you go, "When am I sitting in that?" You know?
I know.
And I mean, it's one of the most gorgeous songs. It's
so beautiful. I know. Well, he wrote. We were in Copenhagen in 2000. We were recording in a place called Medley Studios in the city, for Kid A. And I think Tom had gone to some history anthropological museum, and there was sort of these art pieces of Egyptian, you know, artwork and stuff. And I think we'd just gone to see you know, Underworld. We played Underworld play at the Christiana, and he came back into the studio and he just played that song, Pyramid Song, on the piano. You know, I think it's called Egyptian Song originally because of the artwork that he'd seen in Copenhagen. So yeah, it's beautiful. And then we put all the drums and overdubs and stuff here in Oxford. But it's just the feel. It's just his feel, you know, that how he plays, and yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
But you have to work out where the one is, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's
feel.
Well, there's this whole thing about body clocks. I don't know if you ever just think about this with your colleagues and stuff. I think that everybody's got a different, like, sort of clock inside their bodies, and a different tempo, different BPMs and stuff. And Tom's like a fast BPM, and a lot of his music is about like the 16th before the one. So everything's, you know, like it's almost like a funk thing. Actually, there's he
dances like that, isn't he? So
that Larry,
yeah.
So it's like the 60th. So you've got the one, and so Tom was always like just before the one. He's always, you know.
Do you know what's funny? Yeah. something we learned from playing in the Saucers. Something I learned about Nick Mason that explains his time, because no one can ever get this incredible thing of being 3 and 4 and 3, and it's because he counts everything in half time. He's hearing everything in half time. So, but from 1, 2, he's just got all this space, so he can be in whatever time signature he wants.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. So we've been working with an amazing guy called Chris Fattalaro, who's been doing drums and percussion with us on tour.
Oh yeah.
He's
amazing.
Incredible, amazing. He's worked with loads of people. He's an amazing, lovely, lovely human being. And he told me he used to have master classes with Steve Gadd.
Oh wow.
In upstate New York when he was doing his percussion, and he said Steve Gadd explained it to him this way. He said he sees sound in discrete slices of like thousands of seconds. So when he's playing something, everything is very, cut up. So he can hear different timings between like sort of fragments of the beat, which is just mind blowing.
Can I tell you, I've got a little story about when I worked with Steve Gadd, which is because Steve played drums on the last David Gilmour album.
Amazing.
And it was just amazing. There's something about his, and he would just play these parts, and I'd sit there playing along with him. And of course, with David, everything's super simple.
Yeah.
And it was and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I had this thing. There are a couple of bass drums on this one song where he'd hit a bass drum and my note wasn't in the same place. And I thought, I just want to be on every bass drum of his. So afterwards, I went into the control room. I said, do you mind just make his bass drum really big on the computer? And I just want to nail everyone. And it was so sweet. Then Steve walked in and he just looked really disappointed. And he went, don't do that. And he was absolutely right. It's like we had a groove. We'd put the track down. It was fine.
Amazing. Yeah.
No, he wanted that bass drum to be just him.
Yeah.
He didn't want you sitting your fat ass on it.
Exactly.
He was giving you the room to play your notes. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
I know. It was,
What's next with Radiohead? Can I ask?
Oh well, we had a lot of fun on the last tour, and we're sort of trying to work out what to do next. Nothing's confirmed, but we definitely want to try and do some more shows somewhere, someplace, sometime. So, but I mean, sorry to be so vague, but because everyone's got their different projects on, like Ed, and he's got his solo records just coming out at the moment, and then.
We love your brother's work, obviously. My son studies music up at Edinburgh, and his ambition is to do.
Oh, does he?
His ambition is to do film music.
Amazing.
He's a massive fan of. We listened a lot to that.
My son's at Edinburgh as well, and is your son doing music then?
Yes.
What's he doing? Oh, brilliant!
He's in the fourth year.
Amazing, yeah. So, and then and Phil's got his records, and because what happened is everyone had.
You played on Phil's records, didn't you? Or did you not?
I played on
Ed's records,
one, and then I played, but that's kind of where, because with COVID and with everything just sort of slipped, but it was really great to play again. And
did it inspire you to make more music together?
Well, I don't know right now, but I think that going back to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, I just think that I feel so blessed to have that opportunity to play with those people. And then
lucky bastard.
I know. Larry's got a solid steel drum kit. I stand between two of the loudest drummers in rock music. We've got Jim Sclavunos on the left, and I've got Larry Mullins on the right. And I've got Nick like jumping up and running around, like sort of, he'll come over like during songs and start like wailing with the drum. I'm like, go, you're putting me off. Go
Is
away.
there a London show coming up?
There's a big show in Brighton in the summer. We're doing a bunch of festivals around Europe. I think he did like 50,000 tickets in like 30 minutes in Brighton.
We should go, Guy, shouldn't we? Can you take me,
Brighton's
Guy?
just down the road. Yes, please.
Brilliant. Well, I would love to see you guys. You'd be guests of honor. It'd be so nice to see you.
Oh.
And I need to talk to you guys like after this. I would be so grateful to sort of try to sort of learn something, talk to you about geeky stuff later as well. So.
Oh no, no, we'll meet up in town.
Yeah. So that rambling on.
No, I love it. Really inspiring. Really, really, yeah.
Thank you.
It was tricky. He's tricky,
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful that you asked, and like I said, I mean,
I'm so glad to know you, Colin. In
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
light
yeah.
way that is.
Yeah, well,
you're a brilliant musician. You've been a great inspiration. So.
Thank you. You could do a show just about all the people you've had on. It's ridiculous, like Mick Fleetwood and just mental, just amazing.